Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at that ongoing coastal storm that's currently bringing snowfall to many different states. We're also going to be taking a look at that major storm that's going to be taking place over the central and eastern United States, bringing snowfall, severe weather, and ice. Also the western United States as well. It's pretty much going to impact coast to coast here in the United States, so we really need to talk about that one. And then we're going to talk about the pattern kind of after the fact as well. Anyways, before we get into this video, be sure to smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe for more weather-related content. For today's comment of the day, I want to know, do you think that we're going to be in a really quiet pattern throughout the final half here of February after that major storm? So basically, we're going to have that one major storm, but outside of that, do you think it's going to be a very quiet portion of the month like we've been having, or do you think we're actually going to see that be a catalyst to really bring us into a very active pattern? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll be picking one of those for tomorrow's video. Let's get straight into this video, and first things first, as you can see, there is a whole lot going on right now we need to talk about. Now, first off, an interesting thing is we do have a clipper system that kind of pours down through this region later on in the morning. That is going to be something we need to talk about. We do have some snowfall showers around here near Iowa and Illinois. We'll also talk about that, but also really the biggest thing in this video is going to be, or not in this video, but during this portion of the video, is going to be this east coast storm that's going on. And you can see it's basically separated by two areas of precipitation. One that is more coastal and then one that is more inland. If these two had come together, this would be a much more major storm, but instead we have two kind of minor areas of precipitation as opposed to one more major area. And we do see this happen from time to time. And that is what we're dealing with at this point. So let's zoom into the north central United States and take a look at this bit of a clipper system that's been pouring down. And I don't exactly know how much snowfall is behind it because we can't really see. We don't have radar data from up here in Canada, so we don't know how much snowfall is up there. But I think it's pretty safe to assume that a lot of the areas that will be impacted by this will see about 1 or more inches of snowfall. Obviously, there will be some areas that see less, but I think there's some areas in here that have to be getting some sort of accumulation at this point. Now, as we take a look down here at Iowa and Illinois, you can see there has been an area also down here that has seen some snowfall, and I would estimate that this area has seen maybe a dusting in the most heaviest spots, but really this has been a very quick moving system, and I wouldn't suspect that it's bringing too much in terms of accumulation. Now, we've also seen these lakes look pretty darn active after this cold front has poured through. We can see that up there in the Upper Peninsula, the Lower Peninsula, Ohio there, New York, probably even Erie, Pennsylvania getting involved here. We see northern Indiana at points seeing some of that snowfall as well. There's been some snowfall really coming off of these lakes ever since that cold front has come through, which isn't a huge surprise. But this is pretty widespread, although we don't have any major areas of lake effect snowfall, I wouldn't say, but it has been interesting to see this much snow across that many lakes, pretty much every single lake up there. Now we do have snowfall showers to the south here for southern Ohio, northern Kentucky, and southern Indiana as well. South of Indianapolis there, southern Ohio down here, and then northern Kentucky as well. We've been dealing with that. And then for the southeast with this coastal storm, I mean, we've been dealing with a lot of storminess here, particularly over Florida. But also here near Louisiana, we've seen southern Mississippi and even southern Alabama there. As you can see, that builds in a lot. And those could be in the form of thunderstorms down there in this southern extent. So this line that's kind of heading towards the panhandle of Florida, watch out for that one. That one looks a little more intense. But generally north of this main frontal area, we're mostly taking a look at just some rainfall in here. Not as much lightning threat. It's mostly south of it where we have the more warm and humid conditions here, where that cold front has not passed through at all. We're seeing mostly the warm tropical air take over here for southern Florida. Look at how much lightning is down here. I was observing this before I started the video near Key West. You're probably waking up to a lot of thunder, and that actually is going to be heading towards the general Miami area. So southern Florida, I'd say the southern 4th or even southern 8th. Even though they're already dealing with thunderstorms in here, you see these really build in over time. We're going to be dealing with even more of that activity. What's interesting is we see this. I'm going to change the colors here. This makes it so much cooler for me. But we do see a bit of a cold front passing through, obviously. But what's interesting is that these thunderstorms here, you can see are heading generally just northward out ahead of that cold front. So we see this frequently, whereas these ones are heading in from the west. So these are going to really blast through and get rid of everything that's in the area. But out ahead of it, we are seeing these thunderstorms head north over the state. And that's some pretty tropical weather taking place. Like I said, Key West and south of Miami, maybe even over Miami, we're going to see a lot of this activity here, which is just tons of lightning. Let's see how much of that. We can't see the radar, but just it's got to be hundreds of strikes taking place, and that is generally headed very, very close to Key West, and it's going to be heading generally towards these regions as well. All right, now let's finally talk about some of that snowfall. Well, first off, we have our coastal low here offshore. This is going to be generally heading like this, and later this evening we are going to see some snowfall for this region, very, very minor amounts. By the way, the Super Bowl's today. I just remembered that. That probably should have been the comment of the day, but it's not going to be. But I would also love to hear who you think and who you hope is going to win. I personally think I don't know, guys. I think the Rams are probably going to win. I would love to see the Bengals win. I think that'd be pretty cool as well. I love that I don't really care who wins. I'd be happy either way for different reasons. But my honest opinion, and this might be completely wrong, but I have a gut feeling that the Rams are actually going to win in a very significant way. I feel like it might actually be it might be a bit of a blowout. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say it nicely. For some reason, I feel like the Rams are just going to really take over this game. But I could be wrong. And I really think I would prefer to see the Bengals win. So maybe I even hope I'm wrong. Let's just take a look here. I didn't mean to get off topic there, but it is only once a year, right? Here is our snowfall area at this point. And you can see it's pretty far away from our low pressure system, obviously, which is probably... it's way further south than that, but it's that far offshore. So we have this precipitation field that is way far away from the low pressure system, and it does have some heavy snowfall in there. We see the whites for some regions, some of the blues showing up. That's 30 dBz snow. That is heavy, heavy snowfall. So especially in the blues, we're dealing with very heavy snowfall here in eastern Pennsylvania, especially right now. This is the area that we're seeing the heaviest snowfall, and I guess even that area kind of heaviest snowfall even extends, I would say, something like this at this point. Although it's headed further and further north up there. But southern New Hampshire getting involved, a lot of Massachusetts also getting involved. And that's just heading further and further southeast at this point. But once sunrise happens, we will see some warming happen. And really, the area that gets kind of screwed is this area that's in between the two precipitation fields, because you're kind of got to ask yourself, why is there no precipitation here? I'm in this region, a little bit bitter, but I also really don't care. We've seen quite a bit of snowfall this season, so... if I had seen no snowfall so far this season, and last year we didn't see any, I'd probably care a lot more. But at this point, I feel like we've seen our fair share, so I'm not really particularly hyper about trying to see snowfall or hoping that we get snowfall. It's kind of like a take it or leave it thing at this point. It would be pretty cool to see. I'm more excited about thunderstorms actually at this point. When I really think about it, I am excited for just some heavy rainfall, some thunder. I always love this time of year. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to move on. I think we've gone over everything that's happening on radar. We're going to see this really head southeast. This will head over to where the dry slot is, and that's when this area will see some snowfall, but pretty limited amounts. I don't expect any accumulation, especially further east here. This area will kind of see some snowfall, my local region. I don't expect any accumulation on concrete. Some models have trended to up to about 1.5 inches of snowfall falling from the sky. And to me, with how warm it's been, that equates to no accumulation on the roads or on the sidewalks or anything like that. Potentially, I would say about a 50-50 shot of a dusting, maybe a tiny bit more on the grass. But there's also a 50% chance you just see flakes and really it never sticks to anything, which I think there's a pretty good chance of that happening too. So that's the setup for these dry slot areas. Anyway, we're going to move on to the model guidance. We're going to talk a tiny bit about this storm, but we're really going to focus on that major storm that's going to be happening out west for the central United States and eventually the southeast. Now here is our European model. We're just going to walk through this one. So this is from 0Z, so we're not getting a perfect illustration of what's happening now. But once we move to about I would say we're around 12Z right now. You can see it's pretty accurate to what's happening right now. We have this snowfall up here. We have rainfall going on down here. I just want to zoom into the east for a second, but really I want to focus on this for just one moment before I do. My drawing literally just ended. Okay, there we go. So we're looking at about a jet stream like this. The southeast ridge is trying. That's why it was so warm yesterday, guys. That southeast ridge is getting involved, which if that starts to happen as we head into the spring, I do expect more severe weather and thunderstorm activity for this area. Little bit of a side note there. A little bit random. But this cold front and trough is really going to win out. It's going to be shoving this warm air out, but over time, we're going to have to watch that happen. Let's just zoom into the east real quickly, like I said. And as you can see, this snowfall eventually slides off to where it starts moving further southeast and eventually includes these areas. This model doesn't really indicate it. It's very low resolution, but when we move on, I'll just show you this real quick. How about that? So, the NAM 3KM model, this is a little more interesting. We do get that snowfall. This would be about 10 p.m. or so, perhaps, and we do get some snowfall for these regions, finally, that are in the dry slot right now. And that does last quite a while, especially, you see this kind of coastal low. What we see happen, what's interesting, is a lot of the heaviest precipitation in the southern part of the storm is actually over the mountains, but we eventually see it transfer towards mostly where the coastal low is actually the dominant feature here. So you see right here over the mountains, and then it transfers to where that heaviest snowfall is over the coastal regions, and that kind of hangs out for a while, and then eventually moves out. We do see some lingering snowfall showers in through the morning, and then it's basically all said and done. And again, that's why I kind of said these areas could get about 1 inch to 1.5 inches in there, but I don't expect any concrete accumulations, but I expect the chance for some grassy dusting. It also depends on how much rain you get beforehand as well. That does play a role, but it was literally 72 degrees yesterday, so I think that's why concrete's going to be a lot harder to get than grass would, because grass, it's elevated a little bit off the ground. It's going to quickly cool down compared to concrete, obviously. But that's just what I think at this point. Now, that was way off topic, guys. That was way off topic of me. Let's move back onto the European model. Okay. Now let's also move back to a national view, because we're going to actually just move on from this storm very quickly. It moves up, moves out, and then it's all said and done. We do have a trough centered over the eastern United States now, so something like this is what we're taking a look at on the jet stream. But we're going to see this storm up here. This storm is going to really wreck the whole jet stream pattern. It's going to send us into an opposite pattern. So we'll see the trough center itself over the west and another southeast ridge take over. So we watch that transfer. See this storm diving down? That's what causes it basically just digs the trough down, and then so much of that Arctic air, instead of going this way into the east, it's diving down with the storm, that this basically gets cut off, and that's why this one heads out. And then we see a ridge able to take over because that cold air has now moved out. So this tropical air is like, oh, okay, you're not occupying that area anymore, so we're going to go ahead and move in. Not that air masses can think, but that's just what happens. And then why was I on the 18Z run? I want to go to the 0Z run here. Perfect. Okay. So then we see at this point the trough is centered like this, the ridge is centered like this. We have a jet stream that looks about like this, a little bit of a trough here over the northeast still, so probably some cold air for Maine. We do see that happen from time to time. But the main feature here is a big old southeast ridge. It warms back up later in the week for the east, kind of like it did this weekend. Expect conditions to be similar. And at this point, our low pressure system's here. We've had a lot of snowfall for the west and the Rockies so far, and we're going to see it develop in here, although I will say it's really diminished those snowfall amounts, and this storm has become predominantly a severe weather threat and ice storm threat, although the GFS has a lot more snowfall, so we'll compare, but my confidence is going down, guys. This is not good. Now we have this low pressure system here, likely severe weather out ahead of this. We'll take a look at that in a second. But some snowfall in here, but a lot of ice, And again, it's predominantly an ice storm. We see some snowfall down here, but not nearly as much as we saw before. Low pressure systems here. Um, we do see a bit of a warm front probably there. Cold front, something like this. And I do expect some severe weather potential for the southeast also, as there's huge amounts of warm air over the east by this point. Let's take a look at those temperatures actually. This is going to be the high temperatures on Thursday. And let's see. Got to get to the right model run. Right there. Okay, let's zoom into the east. We'll see some actual temperatures on screen. Yeah, so 60s and upper 50s again for these regions, even 80s in there. I want to see how this plays out actually. So the day before, Wednesday, we take a look at about upper 50s. Thursday, actually, our high is right before this cold front comes through, kind of in the evening. We see some upper 60s really creep along the East Coast. That's as this cold front is clearly approaching, and then it blasts through, and then we get very, very frigid air again. That's some low temperatures here by next weekend, but it will be very cold. So that's how that cold front is really going to affect the entire United States, whether you're getting a ton of precipitation or not. But I expect a lot of severe weather to be possible, basically for this entire region. Mostly the west and this region. And then I do expect some for this region, mostly thunderstorm activity here in the north. That's where there's any cape. That's where there is any potential for thunderstorms, basically. Let's see. So the snowfall here is very marginal on our most recent European model run. 2 to 6 inches here in the blues, and then 6 to 10 there in the purples. And you can see we don't even get into the pinks or the pastels. But don't panic yet. I'll show you the GFS in a moment. We do have these pinks out here. So again, grays are dusting if anything, blues are 2 to 6, purples are 6 to 10, and then pinks would be 10 to 20 inches of snowfall. So a lot of the Rockies and the Cascades see those types of amounts. Let's take a look at the freezing rain real quick before we move on to the GFS model. And you can see we have a lot more widespread freezing rain throughout these regions. And as we get into those darker blues, that's where we're at a half an inch, maybe even an inch in a lot of these regions here of freezing rain. So this could be a major ice storm as well. Now our storm blasts through. Clearly there's a little bit more snowfall there going on than what we saw in the European model. And when we take a look at our total snowfall here, we can see these pinks are going to be 10 to 20 inches of snowfall and even 20 to 30 here over Canada. So again, grays are dusting if anything. Blues will be 2 to 6, purples 6 to 10, pinks 10 to 20, which we see a ton more of those than the European model. And then we even get some of those pastels showing up where we're close to 20 inches. So we'll have to see if the European comes back to what the GFS is showing or if the GFS goes to what the European model is showing. But only time will really tell on that. Here's the freezing rain total, so we get a little bit less here, like I said. So maybe a glaze to about a half an inch of freezing rain for a lot of these regions. So a lot less there. Now, for the severe weather. Here is day 4, so we expect severe weather to be possible. And here, a 15% chance within 25 miles of a given location there for southeastern Oklahoma, northeastern Texas, southwestern Arkansas, and northwestern Louisiana, right there in that corner. So that's day 4. That is going to be, what day is this? That's going to be Wednesday through Thursday of this week. And then day 5, which is going to be Thursday into Friday, we have a lot of these deep south states like Arkansas, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana getting involved. I think this day could be a lot worse. So Thursday into Friday is the main day I'm watching. Then I expect the next day, even though we don't have predictability is too low, which means they think there is some potential, but it's hard to predict. But I do think that this southeast corridor is going to be a place to watch for sure for some potential severe weather on day 6. Anyway, for today's confidence tab, I was tempted to go down to a 3 out of 6 because in classic fashion, we saw the confidence kind of decrease on the models. But I'm sticking with a 4 out of 6. I hope that these models will come together throughout the day today. I feel like we have an okay handle on the overall pattern, so I'm not going down in confidence yet. For today's comment of the day, I asked you guys, do you think this will be a one-time thing for severe weather, or do you think we could see more activity later on? And Jonathan Schlack said, I think we could see severe weather later this month, but mainly the southeast United States, and I definitely agree. There looks like there could be more opportunities later down the road for sure. For today's patron highlight of the day, I want to thank you all for supporting the channel, but especially our platinum patrons, Bill Crates, James Wade, Dovin Eagle, Larry Pan, Mandy Birchfield, Patrick Strickland, Dave Scott, and Donna Carnage as well. I would also like to thank our Diamond patrons, Bill Roberts, Marcus Connolly, Noah Harley, Michael Kudalesa, Catbite, Charles Stinnett, Bill Dallas, Gary's, and John Colisi also. I would also like to thank our channel members, Catbite, Stephen Fan, and Jeremy Cox as well. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe for more weather-related content. I'll see you guys in the next video.